Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends is brought to you by Funny&Amen. If you want to support this podcast and haven't seen any of our other content, head over to our page at patreon.com/funny-and-amen. For just $2 a month, you can watch our podcast a whole week early and see exclusive stand-up comedy that can't be seen anywhere else. For only $5 a month, you'll have access to the podcasts, the stand-up, and behind-the-scenes content, exclusive first looks at new comedy projects we're working on, and bonus, we're going to send you a t-shirt. Head to patreon.com/funny-and-amen to see all we have to offer. That's patreon.com/funny-and-amen. Hey guys, welcome to Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends. I'm your host, Kevin Hackenberg. You're watching the Funny&Amen channel, abbreviated F&Amen. And we are here with my good friend Mark Allen. And Mark chose some Knob Creek, so I'm going to pour us a little glass of Knob Creek to get us started. Nice. And welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the bourbon. Hopefully, we'll have a great conversation today. But,
I hope, or you're fired.
All things, we'll have a good drink.
Nice, yeah. Worst case scenario, we're going to have a little nice little sip here. Good. Welcome.
Cheers. Thank you.
So, Mark, oh, that's nice. Tell me, Mark, who are you?
It's like a job interview. It's like, oh, man.
Well, so we met. The first thing my wife and our friends, we hang out every Tuesday night, make some tacos for the kiddos, and then put the kids to bed, and then we sit around a fire like we're 21, and talk the wee hours. And apparently one night you were there.
The one night you didn't come.
There's many nights that I don't come. I'm in New York or wherever I'm at.
Busy. It's always working.
And then I get back, and my wife's like, "Oh, you got to meet Tiana's cousin Mark, who is in accounting, going into film."
Yeah, that's the story.
Yeah.
There it is.
Meg's like, "I think his mom's important. I don't know why."
His mom, mom's important. The only reason I'm here,
Every mother is important.
That was the one night. Tiana had been telling me about the Tuesdays. And that's where I met your wife and Dave. And Dave was telling me about he works in film and photography and as well. And I said, yeah, you gotta meet Kev. You gotta meet Kevin. He's the guy. So
a guy, just a guy, but the guy missing. I'm the guy missing from the party.
The missing link. But I remember thinking like I definitely want to link up, and that was still kind of early in this journey, as you mentioned, like moving from accounting into something completely opposite, like more on the artistic side, creative side. And, when we finally met at Tiana's wedding, like, we had that conversation. It was really cool. I remember some parts of it because, it was an open bar. But no, it was a good conversation. And you said, like, let's talk some more. And
you had, from that conversation, you had volunteered, right, at the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So tell me, go back up. I want to get deep into that a little bit more, but tell me about your journey. Did you go to college for accounting or something? How'd you,
Yeah, we can take it all the way back. So accounting in college, I actually started at Temple University. Started in international business, but transferred to Eastern after 2 years. We can talk about the reasons why.
Eastern University.
Nice,
awesome, cool.
Yeah.
That's where my wife went to college.
Right.
Bunch of crew.
All the Eastern alumni I've never met before, so it's like home, right? But yeah, transferred to Eastern, and then took accounting / finance, and while I was there, transferred to a different major, changed back, I did a semester abroad in Barcelona. So I was like all over the place. But when it came down to it, like I had to graduate, and it was like, well, I got all the credits for like an accounting degree, so let me go ahead and finish up. And once that happened, I was talking to my accounting teacher, and she was like, well, about jobs, and I didn't know what I was going to do. It's also 2009 when like jobs are kind of hard to come by. People getting their offers rescinded. So, she said, go study for your CPA. And in the meantime, like once you get it, like go get a job in Big Four. But she made it sound like it was just a thing to do, but it's actually kind of difficult to get in the Big Four if you don't get recruited. Mm-hmm. So, I just had that plan in my mind. And
what's the Big Four?
Big Four would be Big Four accounting. Like you'd have KPMG, PwC, Deloitte & Touche, and what's the other one? Ernst & Young. Mm-hmm. So there's 4 major accounting firms. There were 5. Arthur Andersen was that 5th. When they had the whole Enron scandal, they imploded. A lot of the partners from Arthur Andersen went to KPMG and other places. But yeah, that's the Big Four accounting firm. They offer like tax, audit.
And you got in one.
And I finally got into one. Yeah. The story there is, I had a temp job at one of KPMG's clients. During my time in this temp appointment, I made friends with the CFO at the company. He caught me after work one day just saying, oh, it was a Friday. He said, have a good weekend going out to the bar, happy hour, something like that. Now I'm actually going to the library to study for my CPA. He was like, oh, really? That's cool. Keep me posted. So like when I finally finished all the tests and, got my CPA out the way, he said, what do you want to do next? And I said, I want to work for Big Four. And that's when he like hooked that up and got an interview, got an offer, and, had the job.
Nice, awesome. And so how long were you there?
I was there for a little over 4 years, basically like 4 years. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I mean, going back on it, I think it was a great learning opportunity. I learned a lot about business, about accounting, about people, corporate world, and then just like how this world works, economics and everything. Great experience. I think if I could do everything over again, I would have went to school and studied economics. Mm-hmm. It's a crazy interesting.
And it makes sense why you chose to come into film now.
Right. Because I mean, it's all about a story, right?
Yeah. Is economics about a story?
It's all about what story you're trying to tell. Man. You collect the data and make the data work for you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what brought you? What kind of steered you to kind of look after being. You made it in the accounting world.
I wouldn't say I made it. Trust me, it didn't have its. I had challenges for sure. But like while I was there, it's funny. Like when I got that offer, I was working across from some like a really good friend of mine, and when I got the offer, I remember hanging up the phone, looking around, thinking like I don't have to work here anymore. Like because that was an interesting place, but I was looking at my friend. I was like, I don't even know if I really want this job.
Yeah,
it was more so like the challenge that was put in front of me, and seeing if I could do it. And now that I've done it, I don't even know if I really actually want to work there.
Yeah,
because I never really did want to study accounting. It just happened to be that.
Yeah. Interesting. And so what did you ever have a dream you wanted to study like film or economics now or accounting then or like are you still a man looking for
my guidance for like what am I gonna do when I grow up, like people ask me like questions I still don't have an answer. I don't know, like it's actually pretty troubling sometimes when I think about it. Like I talk to people who have like this very clear direction. I always knew I wanted to do this growing up. I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer, or I wanted to be in finance. Like that was just something that never was in me. I never really had a clear like vision of who I wanted to be growing up, and that was like kind of troubling. And it's still kind of troubling now to me, because I feel like there's so many people out there with direction.
Is it you don't have any direction, or you have like 12?
I think it might be that.
Yeah.
If somebody asked me that, like, it could be that I have a lot of options. Which is something my father always told me was good. Like, have options. Like, if you can't make a decision about something, just go in the direction that gives you the most options. And I mean, that's been good for like keeping me out of trouble, so to speak. But now that I'm like 34, not really established in anything, I'm like, all right, I gotta start focusing on something. It's narrowing down the choices. I
don't know. I feel like I've been into different things over the course of my career, like being a cinematographer, being a director, being a producer, running a production company. Dealing with real estate, and sometimes you kind of like, you're like, can I pick one? Should I pick one? At this point, should I pick one, or can I run multiple? Can there be multiple versions of me?
Right.
There's a dad version and a husband version of me, and a
it's like a
guy version. No, that's true. And there's also a version of me that earns a living. And I'm like, or a guy that manages some investments. Like, which version of me am I right now? I don't know.
It seems like as you're saying it, your versions. It's almost like you're compartmentalizing all the different parts of your life, so that they don't overlap. But it seems like that would be impossible, right? Like, they're all flowing together, and like in some beautiful schizophrenic type.
Oh yeah. My kid's like soccer game. My phone rings. I'm like, I have to take it now because it's still me. When does the are there certain hours that the one me turns off and the me turns on? Can you dedicate? You can dedicate hours to a certain extent, but then sometimes you can't, and so they flow together.
That's like the factor that makes it impossible to be everything is time, which we don't have a lot of.
Yeah.
But then when you're a kid and when you're younger and people tell you, oh, you've got time to figure it out, it's like one of the biggest lies they could ever tell you. I feel like they're all telling these kids you have time to figure it out, so they don't end up being competition for their job like in 10, 20 years.
Oh, you got time to figure out this filmmaking thing. In the meantime, I'm going to be taking advantage of your connections and your...
Exactly. I don't know.
You got time to figure it out. It's like oh... It's okay. Don't stress. Yeah,
it's all
Meanwhile, like I'm stressed, because what? So tell me how did you decide to go into? When I first met you, you had just finished up volunteering for the African American Film Festival in.
All right.
In Martha's Vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
How do we go from Big Four accounting to Martha's Vineyard Film Festival?
Okay. Well, there was a Big Four accounting slight break in that at Microsoft. Did that for about a year, and then around, I guess it was April 2018, I decided that it probably isn't the best fit for me. Mm-hmm. So I had an opportunity. I've been talking to my mom the whole time. Like, who my mom is. Kim Sledge of Sister Sledge. So
yeah, I knew that, but you might not know that. His mom's famous. These are photos. These are your photos.
Yeah.
Of your mom. Where's this at?
Actually, since we just pulled them out, I don't remember what show that is, but it's in Europe. It's in probably the UK, most likely.
So you grew up. Your mom is.
Yeah. What? Sister Sledge is that song, We Are Family.
Yeah, We Are Family. You danced this song at weddings,
weddings, holidays,
Yeah. We thank you for your support. What was it like growing up? Like, your mom's, famous. She's touring around, I'm sure, all the time.
Yeah. So, as a kid, mom would be gone for, like, weeks, month, maybe, like, longer. You get postcards and cool gifts from overseas, stuff like that. And it's just like a normal thing. It's like, you don't really think of it as something that's like amazing or like, oh wow, like she's who? Like, oh my goodness, I know that song. I know them.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like I'm starting to realize like how special it was for someone to experience that. I mean, like them, like the sisters.
Yeah.
But growing up, you don't really like recognize the importance or how significant it was for someone to be able to have that notoriety that and be around the world and just get paid to sing on the stage.
Yeah. That song. I want to say something quickly. Is that song connects people in crazy ways. Especially like it's a typical like wedding. It's a regular at the weddings, right? Yeah. The wedding dance party. Yeah. And I think that like just to say we are family is like this amazing thing that really kind of comes. So thank your mom when you see her. I've been a part of some spontaneous families on wedding dance floors because of your mom's song.
That is the one thing. Like it's a song that everybody can dance to, can sing to, and no one has to feel any like they're not included. Even if somebody like came up as in a foster home, orphan, like never really felt family. Like
it's very inclusive.
You can be out on the floor, like you said, out on the floor and be a part of any family at that time. So for me, like, growing up, it's looking back on it, great experiences, great opportunities were provided to myself and my sisters and my cousins because of that, and growing up and becoming a professional in myself and like trying to establish my own career. I don't know if that's like me trying to be my own person drove me into the least creative field possible. I'm not sure, but I ended up, in accounting, and going back to like where, how did I get into this like film thing? I always had the opportunity to go on the road with them, but never really took it because I was trying to establish my own thing. And like with the whole time thing, and like I'm not where I want to be, and I know I only have some certain amount of time left on this earth, I decided to, take the opportunity to go on the road with them starting in 2018. And while I was there, I felt like there were a lot of opportunities or a lot of significant moments that needed to be captured, or I didn't know what to do with them, right? So the first thing I thought to myself was like, take some of this Microsoft money and buy a camera and like really, start doing something with it, capture. I'd always had cameras as a kid, but now I'm like, let me look at it from the standpoint of I can document something and really get good at this. And then I really liked it because I know sometimes being behind the camera can be it is a job. It is not always fun, but I liked it. I was having fun, and I just wanted to see where it would go, and I like where it's going, so I'm not stopping it.
Cool.
Trying to pursue it more and see, like, really take it seriously. Not just a hobby.
It's so interesting because, like, you're kind of getting that feeling of documenting and like, like your mom, a famous singer. My father, a famous beekeeper, very similar, but it's also different time periods too. Like my family got a camera when I was in high school, and I was just like documenting everything. It was also a good way to get out of beekeeping and out of like homework. Like, I gotta document this. Let me pull out the camera while you guys are working, and. Because it wasn't work to me. It was enjoyable for me to like pull up the camera and kind of document.
Yeah, what was happening.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Just kind of interesting these parallels. Like you're kind of discovering this. Now like later in life, I was discovering it then, and it's just fascinating to me. Like different being now in my 40s, knowing that there are like different decades or these 5 or 6 year periods where I'm focused on one thing or another thing. It's kind of interesting to see like, just say have these periods of life where, you don't have all the time in the world, but you have a couple couple decades to play with, you know, or a couple 5-year segments to play with, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and then cool things can happen in a short amount of time as well.
Yeah.
Like, so you never count yourself out, you know, as far as like, oh, I don't have enough time to try something new. Like, as long as you're breathing.
Yeah. Keep trying something new.
Yeah.
So where, all right. So you left Microsoft, you got a camera, started going to the room with your mom, documenting.
Yeah.
And then you just happened to be in Martha's Vineyard and volunteered this.
Well,
I keep coming back. I want to hear more about the festival.
This festival is like, I mean, so what happened was I had the camera. I started thinking about what other career options there are, you know, behind the camera, because I definitely don't feel like I should be in front of it.
Yeah.
Like, this is a lot for me right here. Like,
the house is not haunted, by the way. We're in the basement, my house, and someone's walking upstairs. So, the creaking. Back to you. You had the camera.
I had the camera.
Exploring careers.
Exploring careers, seeing what this life really is about, and I figured taking a note from like my career in corporate, like, you go to trade fairs or you go to conferences and stuff and see all the people in the field and see all the different things that are happening. And I looked at film festivals as something like that. And there's a film festival in Martha's Vineyard, African American Film Festival, Martha's Vineyard, MVAAFF. And I remember when they first started, I think I went once, like, and then it was like small, you know, like one room. They'll have a screen and they'll play something. And I mean, my aunt or somebody staying at the house would have drugged me there, and like, I was like, okay, whatever. And as I got older, I always wanted to go again, and my schedule never aligned. But this year, I'm free. I don't have nothing to do, and you know, tours in the middle of a break from touring, so I volunteered. I shot them a little, this is who I am, and I'd like to volunteer, and they said sure, and it was a great experience. I met a lot of cool people, a lot of young filmmakers, and got to see some pretty famous people as well. Like, saw the cast from Greenleaf, which is a show on Netflix and OWN. Saw Michael B. Jordan one day. He came by to promote, I think it's Mercy.
Just Mercy, right?
Just Mercy.
Yeah. Which is back to Eastern. I just discovered was about the attorney, the real life attorney from that went to Eastern University.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
I plan to see the movie. Like, I think it
good.
comes out, or it's out now, or it's coming out soon.
Come out by the time this airs. It's out.
It'll be out. Go see it.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah.
So did you get to see that film, or?
Well, they didn't show the film. They showed clips, and there was a discussion, like a panel discussion with Michael B. Jordan. I think either one of the producers or the director was on stage as well. But it was so interesting to see how that's part of like their marketing, the production or the studios.
Yeah.
Like, they came through with a drive, and it's got like a what do you call those things, like a little keypad to lock in a code. If you don't know the code, you can't play the thing, and they only play once. It's like, they're very serious, and it was interesting to see that behind the scenes and like that infrastructure for the industry. And that's one of the biggest things I took away from volunteering there.
Is seeing the business behind the filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole ecosphere. Like, you have the production, right? You have pre, then you have the production itself, then you have post. And I feel like that's part of like maybe post production. I don't know. Like, once you get into marketing, like it's just
well,
like
there's distribution, and you make this product, and you hope that you can keep selling it.
Yeah. So it's the distribution.
But the first
marketing.
window of selling it is so important. Like getting eyes on it.
Yeah, and buy-in, and like people saying good things about it, because it's still a word of mouth thing. People aren't going to show up in the theaters if they're getting bad reviews, especially if everything you can You can get everything online now.
Yeah. Tricky. So what? So have you made a decision yet? You know,
Where am I heading?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still in the discovery phase, but like getting to the point where things of discovering needs to turn into like income.
Yeah. Always tricky.
So, yeah, that's the hardest part. Like if someone were to be able to bankroll this life, I'd be good. But as nice as it is for my mom to be doing what she does, she can't pay for my life.
Yeah. She can she afford my lifestyle?
Right.
Well, let's take a little quick break, and we'll come back on Christians That Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends. Right. I'm Kevin Hackenberg. I'm here with Mark Allen on Christians That Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends. And we've been talking about all things accounting, Big Four, and filmmaking, the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival, and Sister Sledge, and We Are Family.
Yeah.
So, We Are Family.
All the fun stuff.
Mark is of the We Are Family. The question I ask every one of my guests is, what do you think about Jesus? Mostly I ask that because I'm curious, because I love Jesus. But just a chance to kind of talk about spiritual stuff. Yeah. So what do you think about Jesus?
Yeah, no, I remember asked me this question. And I really thought about it for a long time, because that is an interesting question. I don't think anybody's like really asked that, but I was thinking, and the word that kept coming to me is like complicated. Like it's not like just one way, like one way to think about it. So I grew up in a Christian household. My mother's very spiritual woman. Like she prays, very like a praying mom, like from the church. And I definitely appreciate that, and I don't know if I'd still be here without that. So like I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in Jesus as Lord Savior, all of that. But then there's also a part of me that is really like in a space of questioning and trying to learn and define like, what do I really believe, and where, why do I believe what I believe? So when I start to go into that, that's when I say like it gets complicated. It's very complicated.
Jesus is a complex person.
Complex. That's the word. Complex, not complicated.
Well, no, but that's they're the same word. Complex. There's a complex. This has a complexity. It's complicated because I think that there's especially if you grew up in a church, there's a demand on you to decide what you think of Jesus. I remember I always say this, that when I was 7, my grandmother told me about heaven and hell and put me on the spot to make a decision.
Like right away. Like,
yeah.
Where are you going?
Here's heaven, here's hell. What do you choose? I was like, as a 7-year-old, you're like, everything's pretty black and white.
Yeah.
But when you kind of look back now, I mean, some people that are watching that and hearing that for the first time are like, there's some complexity, some complicatedness being put on pipes from above. There's some complexity being put on. There's some complexity to that relationship. First off, grandmother like giving you like the hell story when you're 7, But I don't know when to get it, like when death, how what age do you tell kids about death, or do you tell kids about religion? But all to say, there is some complexity to Jesus, and it makes it complicated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you why is it complicated for you right now?
I think the complexity comes from one, like when you start to like read about the origins of our belief system and where it's come from and how it's progressed, and then you start to read about all the different interpretations out there. And, what defines mainstream Christianity, and then what you see mainstream Christianity over the years produce. And that's when you start to become like, well, what do I believe, and, why? As opposed to just following the party line, so to speak. And especially today, I think would make a great example of why it's complex, because of party lines. We're looking at a very polarized system that we live in today in America, and we have the right side almost carrying a cross and a Bible everywhere they go, and
or using it as an advertising tool, or using it as a they're complicated. I think humans are complicating it.
Humans can be. So that's what the complexity is, the human element, right?
Yeah.
So
how we interpret religion can be a complicated thing,
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And the other part that makes it complex is, let's say you have a test in front of you, and you got to get all the right scores to get to the next level. In school, you take a math test. If you don't if you don't pass, you could probably take another one or take the grade over again. But, this thing we call religion is almost like the way to that next, afterlife, basically. And you only have one life to, one test to get it right. And let's say you believe incorrectly, or what some people are telling you should believe versus what you shouldn't. And it's just like the implications of getting it wrong is just kind of it's mind blowing. You're like, oh wait, I gotta, this is harder than just saying yes and no.
So you're saying the afterlife is like getting graduating to middle school or high school or college or whatever
you're getting in.
Go from pre-K to kindergarten. Choose Jesus and you'll make it to kindergarten,
right?
Or whatever.
So it's just it's I think it's just like a lot of different factors that make it complex and complicated. And I'm thinking now that I'm talking about it, it's more like the religion itself. But when you study what the Bible says, I guess it's pretty straightforward what Jesus represents. What he did was pretty amazing, and that was complicated in itself too. So,
yeah. So, it's interesting. It's interesting the in the Christian worldview, and I'm excited to get some more. I'm excited to talk to anybody about this subject.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating in the Christian worldview is the Christian worldview kind of gets Jesus down to two kinds of people. One, either a guy who said he was God and who was, or a guy who said he was God and was just a lunatic, because he said he was God. And I'm curious, and hopefully in a later podcast I'll be getting into talking with some more people more deeply about this who are not, from a Christian background maybe, or believing that now. They're kind of what do other people think of Jesus himself? I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah. When you look at, let's take the Bible. Let's start with the Bible because that's where we get our information from. Right?
Jesus' origin story is in the Bible.
But when you look at what they write, what's written in the Bible as the words of Jesus and what he said. If someone were today to say the same things without the context that we have as practitioners of the religion, I would say that 99% of us would say that he's crazy, he's a lunatic, and we wouldn't pay him any mind. And that's an interesting thing to think that I've thought about before. If you have someone saying he said something. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. Like, I'm sorry, I went to Bible school and everything. Like, but along the lines of like
Eastern education, right here.
It was something along the lines of like, like
psychology.
you gotta consume, like almost like consume Christ. Like I don't remember what verse it was, but it was like. When you think about what it says, and
if you let you eat my flesh or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Something like what?
Eat it's
your
weird.
Flesh?
It's weird.
Like,
it's like very cannibalistic.
Exactly. Like we have Hannibal Lecter, and he was like a genius. But So I mean, maybe there's something to cannibalism, but I would say
to cannibalism. We went from religion to cannibalism.
But at the end of the day, like. I would think a lot of the people that that really pound people over the head with the Bible and like tell people they gotta get their lives right and tell them how and to think and how to live. I would say that 99% of those folks wouldn't pay Jesus any mind if he was in the street today talking like he says in the Bible.
Talking he was crazy because it's it's interesting.
Yeah,
it is fascinating. In Jesus' time, the religious people were the ones that rejected him the most.
Right.
And so would those same religious people today, if he were to show up, recognize him or celebrate him?
Mm-hmm.
In reality, would he back their life choices or their political choices?
Mm-hmm.
I think the
I don't know.
Jesus is a wild card.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that what you think of when you think of Jesus?
I mean, I think that I go back and forth from being one of those like religious people that believes Jesus is on his side to realizing like I have no idea what side Jesus is on. Because he's not. He's on his own side. He's on his own. When you really study him, you're like, I think if you're a religious person and you're just spending time studying Jesus because you're a religious person, are you open-minded enough to see that you are one of the Pharisees? You are one of the people that probably wanted him out of the picture. Because he's getting in the way of your religion. Or your thing. So I think it's fascinating to think that what we were just talking about, would the religious people today recognize Jesus or celebrate him if he showed up?
Right.
Because I don't think that he would. He's doing something new. I believe that he says, I'm doing something that's not quite earthly. So understanding it's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Very, very complex.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that I struggle, but it's something that I think about, constantly. I don't think I'm, moving in the space of like I'm just done with that. Like I'm not writing down. Like I was raised this way, and like that's something that I could have been raised another religion, but I was raised this religion, and for me it feels right, and it feels like this is the path I should be on, so I'm staying with it.
Yeah.
But what that means is changing. It's always always in a space of discovery.
Have you explored other religions at all, or?
To be honest with you, I haven't like gone and tried to practice another religion. I could be more educated about what other religions believe, and but when you get back to what the religions say, or most religions say, it's usually like treat other people good and do no harm and stuff like that. Like everybody's got some of the same tenets. Yeah, I feel.
It's interesting. I had a person working for me a while ago, and I think going back to that idea of like, if Jesus was here, would I be a good Christian or a good Christ follower. You know, it could be different, because a good Christian is established by, I'm following the religion well. A good Christ follower might be out looking crazy to. And I realized I had this guy working for me a while ago, and he was a Buddhist. And at one point he got angry with me and did something like, he like locked me out of like some, computer system that I owned. And when he calmed down, this was not the right thing to say, but I said, like, that was a really bad Buddhist move. I said to him, and which made him get. I'm like, I know what a bad Christian. I'm like, I know when I'm not following Christ, I'm doing bad things, And so like you can. I'm like, I told him, you can be. You're a Buddhist. You can tell me when I'm not following Christ. Like, please bring it up. And he just didn't want to know that. He just didn't want me to tell him when he was following Buddha poorly. I think there's a lot of people like that in religion, where you have, whether you're following Christ or Buddha or Muhammad or whatever, you don't want to. No one likes hearing that they're following their religious guru poorly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. Like,
yeah, and I think there's their interpretations too. Like, what would your religious guru do? Like, what would Buddha do in this situation? What would WWBD? What would Buddha do? I think that's I think it's fascinating to me to see. We're all human. We all mess up. So whether you're following the most perfect human ever, whoever you believe that to be, I think that there's a common ground we can admit that we're not all right. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the human condition is it's pervasive. Like, everybody feels
every human has it.
Except for Hannibal Lecter, of course. He's got something else going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough, and like we're all trying to make to the next day.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting conversation to have, especially as we as human beings start to be more open to the concept of mental health. And then you start to think about how religion has had a way of affecting people's like thought processes. And sometimes it's been for the good, and sometimes it's been to the detriment of other folks. Like, think about the Crusades. Like, that's one of the things. Think about the institution of slavery, and even missions, like missionaries, like what they've done to obliterate cultures and and family systems and ways of living. It's such a troubled history that specifically the religion that I prescribe to is such a troubled history. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for it. Maybe
it's interesting. I think a lot of more conservative Christian believers would say, like, all right, yeah, but look at all the good that's been done, and that's true. There's been a ton of good done. I think that there's no. I'm not here to kind of like measure, like, well, we've done more good than bad, so it's worth it. But I think it's just, I'm just here to kind of talk about it and understand like what people are at, Yeah,
no, it's a good conversation, because I don't really think that I've ever had this conversation with anybody. Like, well, what do you think about Jesus? Like, that question in itself. Because I was like, oh, that's interesting.
What's fascinating to me, and you were talking about this before, is that I was part of this like church, and I really discovered that like as part of a church, we actually weren't having that conversation about Jesus. We were having conversations about God or religion, or like, you show up and you do this thing and you like get your get your your Sunday TED Talk, you know, from the Bible, but no one was really having the conversation like, what do you think of Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're all there purporting to believe in him, but no one was actually kind of like talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
It was very weird to me. Mm-hmm. And so like, and starting this podcast, you know, I wanted to kind of like just make sure that topic came up with whoever, you know, with believers, non-believers, I don't care. Like, let's just talk about that, and can we be open-minded and listen to each other, and not try to like argue. I'm not gonna like, oh, you don't believe in Jesus? Well, boom, here's the Bible, and
right.
You know, I think there's a place for that. I think, you know, like all my conservative Christian friends, but at the same time, like that's a, you know, it's like kind of when do you pull out the dictionary, when you pull out the thesaurus, when do you pull out the another book, mm-hmm. You know, like I'm not trying to equate the Bible to other books as a Christian. I'll get in trouble for this in the comments below, but if you don't believe the Bible is a source of divine inspiration, then I have to start another place, you know. And so it means to me that's I'd rather have in this divisive time, I'd rather have these conversations that are inclusive, where we can kind of bring up the subject of Jesus and talk about how he's complicated, or to someone else maybe he's just their savior, to someone else he's like fictitious, you know.
Yeah. And even the question itself, like going back to what do you think about it? Like I think it's interesting because it's such a short question. There's not a lot of not a lot of context baked into the question either.
Because our context was accounting.
Yeah. But,
how do you account for Jesus?
Right. But then, like the way a person answers it, kind of is also telling about, you know, their thought process about Jesus. Like I'm starting to think about my answer as like complex and like going into you know, what I believe, right? And then as opposed to just saying like, well, like if you think about the character of Jesus, like what he did is like pretty amazing, right? And like you can go into that ways, but I think it's a pretty interesting question, and you get a lot of interesting answers out.
Thanks for being here to give me a complicated answer.
Yeah, I'm trying. Not trying to, but it's just
that's what it is. Yeah. My name's Kevin Hackenberg. This has been Christians Drink Whiskey with Their Open-Minded Friends with my friend Mark Allen. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thanks for being here. Please check us out wherever these podcasts are airing, but especially on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/Funny&Amen. And you can check out more podcasts like this. As soon as they go live, you can binge watch them all there. Or you can check out some of the comedy content we're creating to get people talking about religion and making it more fun than Facebook rant. I'm Kevin Hackenberg. See you soon.